excited to have you this morning. The event you're joining in on is called Women Empowerment in Tech. So just a couple meeting norms. I think you probably have noticed this is a Zoom meeting, so we want to make this super interactive. And basically, you can use the chat for questions, general commentary, but we will be going into some breakout sessions later in this session. So feel free to be able to save some of those questions for our awesome panelists for the breakouts. Please go on mute and off video until breakout, so that way if you have your gallery view on, you can see the awesome panelists while we do this. And this event is being recorded, so we'll send out the recording after, so you have this. And then any resources that we mentioned today will be sent in a follow-up email. For those of you who aren't super familiar with GA, General Assembly is a global education company. We help people find the work that they love through education. How we do that is through our immersive and part-time programming. We offer in-demand skills like software engineering, user experience design, data analytics, digital marketing. So check us out if you are looking to upskill. But some of my favorite things that we do offer are these free events where we bring in industry experts like these wonderful ladies here today to talk about what they do and how they do it. So with that, I am going to kick it over to Kate to do her intro.
Well, thank you so much, Hannah. I'm so glad to be here. My name is Kate, and I am a recovering overachiever and perfectionist. Do any of you maybe know that really bright professional who's maybe on the brink of burnout, maybe anxious and depressed, or just trying to go from good to great and they just don't know where to start? What I do is help coach these Wonder Women, these Supermen back to fulfillment by providing perspective, life navigating tools, accountability based in positive psychology and human-centered design and user experience. So I'm really happy to be here today to continue to talk about how when women empower ourselves, we can even better empower each other, and looking forward to a great conversation.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Emily Drake, patching in from the Windy City, Chicago, City of Big Shoulders. We're actually in a rebranding campaign here, so stay tuned for the new slogan for Chicago. Hopefully it honors both the good and the struggles that we have, but proud Chicago resident, grateful to be traveling to Denver for, in a manner of speaking this morning. I am the owner of the Collective Academy, which is an organization that was founded about 8 years ago. And we are devoted to turning audiences into communities. So I hope we can have that be like something that happens today, that we become a community. And we do that through multi-session programs and organizations that really address the mental and emotional part of leadership. In addition to, of course, the tactical, practical stuff, the emails you have to do, the strategies, the TPS reports, everything else. And we're called in most often when there's a merger, an acquisition, when culture really needs to be tweaked, when there's new leadership, new CEO, and especially lately, last year in particular, when an organization wants to coalesce women as a community. So, hoorah, all about it. And so glad to be here with my amazing fellow panelists.
I am muted. Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Erica Pierce. I am based in Washington, D.C., and I am a former corporate executive who worked in primarily healthcare tech for about 15 years, who now works full-time as a millennial leadership coach. So I focus primarily on early leaders and emerging leaders and really making sure they have the right tools to be successful. And I also am the founder of a community, a membership community called the Millennial Boardroom. And it's a community that I started because I found that there was just a gap of resources for young professionals that needed access to career coaching, networking, accountability, and also just support and feedback. And so it's something I'm very proud of and I'm excited about. And I am thrilled for this conversation today because I am someone who has sat in many rooms and been the only woman, a woman of color. And I believe when we have these discussions and when we can talk about these issues as women, it's critically important. So thank you for having me today.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jamie Rowe from Impact to Income, and I teach impact-driven business women a feminine sales structure that allows you to clarify your strengths, communicate your value, and confidently close more sales. And I help by doing this by turning up the volume on your inner mentor and tap into your most authentic self. So you're able to ask for what you want and create the impact that you desire. I do that one-on-one coaching in addition to a beautiful, encouraging community of women where we're all connected together, moving in the same direction. I'm so excited to be here, and good morning. And thank you for being here. It's all about being better every day, and pat yourself on the back. It's Friday morning and you're here. Great job.
I love that. We all deserve a pat on the back, especially I know that Zoom fatigue can be really crazy. So we appreciate you coming and having coffee and hanging out with us women this morning. I know I said to go off video, but I'm kind of thinking maybe everyone, if you feel comfortable, you can turn your videos on. I want to ask a question. And you can say yes or no. Feel free to either drop it in the chat or raise your hand. How many of you are feeling currently empowered by women in your community or in your current job? And if you don't feel comfortable going off video, yeah, you can say yes or no. So feel free. I see some hand raises. I see some yeses. I'm so glad. Yay. Thanks, Allie. Thanks, Lindsay. Love it. How many of you are looking for strategies to empower more folks in your community, or are hoping to get out of today of just kind of looking to get some more strategies? Awesome. Love it. Love it. How many of you just want to be here to meet some fantastic women and just chat it up? Like, yeah, sort of. Awesome. I love it. Well, that's helpful. Thank you all so much. So before we kind of get things kicked off, I guess the first question I'd love to start with, so I'm going to shoot this over to Erica, and then Emily, maybe you can follow up. What does your community of women look like, and how often are you collaborating with women in both your personal and professional space?
So I would kick off with saying I'm a girl's girl. I know it's probably shocking to believe that based upon like my background and everything, but I am someone that really believes in the power of women. I feel really just proud to be a woman, and I am thankful to surround myself with lots of strong women. And so one thing that's always been important to me, though, is to always have almost just, different sort of types of women that inspire me, that stretch me, that allow me to also have just some diversity in thinking. And so I would say my first community of women, though, is my family. I come from a long heritage of strong women. And so just making sure that, sort of our women in our family, constantly seeking guidance from them, and also just making sure that, I provide my insights as well. I think sometimes when we think about ourselves, depending on where you are in your age or generation, you think you're only learning from those, that are older than you, but there's that reciprocal nature that I think is incredibly important, especially with your mentors and anyone. And then I would say professionally, I have always made a point of continuing to always bridge the gaps that I've had as I've changed jobs, making sure I always kept in touch with people, especially women who have really helped me. I actually have never, I think only once in my career did I report to a man. I've always only reported to women in my corporate career. And I had one boss for 8 years that was an extraordinary person. I tell her she's the president of my personal board of directors. And I have maintained maintain that relationship. I check in with her. I offer myself, but even though she's a C-suite, very, fancy executive, I make sure that I maintain and nurture those relationships. And then lastly, I would just say my friendships as well. I think one thing I've learned during this time, this past year, is that friendships do require a level of maintenance. They require a level of nurturing. Sometimes we only focus on nurturing our professional relationships, but you have to also nurture those friendships as well, and people who will challenge you and push you. You do not want to always surround yourself by people who think like you. You're doing yourself a disservice. So I have a bunch of different, communities of women, but I think the most important thing is making sure that you are thinking about what you can bring to those different communities. Don't just take out, make sure you're also pouring back in.
I could just say amen if you want me to, but let me just add one thing, because Erica, you said it so beautifully. My experience as a woman is that there's a lot of noise about who women are and what we need to be, and that's culture. So in order for me to talk about like the communities I've created, I think, part of how I identify is I'm a single woman. I am a woman who's childless by choice. I am a divorced woman. I am a CEO of a company. And a lot of that is, once I step outside of like the orbit, right, the communities I've created and into the world, people have a lot to say about it. So I think part of why I create community with women is so I can see and be around people who have what I want and who I can give to. So that reciprocity that Erica mentioned is such a core component. And women, you guys, women do this naturally. This is something that, we're often overextended in doing. I mean, who's organizing the social gatherings at work? Who's organizing, onboarding, informal onboarding? It's us usually. And that's because, we have sort of an ingrained desire to be together. But I think the last thing I want to say, clearly I had something to say. Sorry, I always have something to say. To amplify again what Eric has said is, the intentionality and really bringing value. I want to, for myself, give so freely of what's been given to me. And so I actually have a fair amount of women I'm 41. I have a fair amount of women in my personal advisory board group that are younger than me. My whole team is women and they're all younger than me. And so I'm finding so much joy in, as a Gen Xer, I'm a cusper, okay? But like as a Gen Xer, like looking to generations above and below me in age for advice and wisdom. So diversity, diversity, diversity. Again, Erica, you said it all. I'm just saying it again.
I love that. I think that's such a good point, is surround yourself both professionally and friend-wise with people who motivate you and think differently than you. I think that's so huge. Another thing to think about too, and Jamie, I'd love to shoot this over to you, but how do you proactively reach out to women, or how could others do the same to make sure that we're including women and lifting each other up who might not feel empowered or like feel like they might need a little bit more support to get there?
Yeah, sure. And that's a great question, is how do we lift other women up and how do we connect? So I think this is kind of a weird thing that I do. So once a week, so Monday, I don't work with clients on Monday. It's my self-care day. It's my mental health day. It's my CEO day, a day where I can just connect and support with myself. And so my cup is full for everyone else throughout the week. Love that, Kate. Yeah, got to have it. So during that day, I actually go online and I look on LinkedIn and I look for women that are interesting. And sometimes I do it through a certain group or something else, and I just reach out. And sometimes I don't have a reason. I'm not there to do business. Sometimes I just want to meet someone. And this week I had 2 women that I spoke to, and we just had the most amazing 30 minutes connection. Yes, some things came from it, like, being invited to a podcast, or just, hey, I just want to talk to you more. So lifting and connecting, I think too, the big factor is the ripple effect. So when we're connecting and kind to someone else, and just filling them up, nourishing them. And I love what you said, Emily, is that we're It's very natural for us to collaborate and communicate, also to use our intuition as women. I teach about the sacred feminine. And so it's very natural to connect with others. And I think that that's a gift that we can share with other people in that way, and seeing other people with their unique strengths and gifts. Every time I meet someone, I'm a big human design and disc person. If anyone's human design, yeah, totally. So everyone has all these really unique gifts that were given to them. And so connecting and finding that, I'm always searching. Everyone's a puzzle. Like, what is their amazing super strength? And I just want to just lean into that and celebrate with them.
I think that's such a good point. And I think kind of how can we like look at somebody, say, these are your strengths, and how can we lift them up and really play to those strengths? And Kate, I know you kind of talked a little bit in the prep call about some cool ways how we can like lift each other up and really empower one another. Would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, just playing off of what Jamie said, I think what I find in my coaching is often we get to a place of compare-itis, where we meet someone, they're amazing, or we see someone in the world and you just admire them so much. And then it takes us to a negative place. And I'm curious, maybe you could chat in, who is a female, who is a woman you really admire, and just a couple of traits about why you admire them. It could be real or fictional. So for instance, I really admire Moana, the Hawaiian Disney princess, who will fight for her community and go on adventures and do no wrong. And man, am I so jealous of that free spirit and how tenacious she is. And if you think about these women you admire and what their key traits are, or that woman that you are so jealous of, odds are it's because you have those traits. And so when you start to see other people or you start to feel jealous, I recommend you go and get curious and compliment that person. Have a conversation. How are they using that unique expertise and that special thing? Strength spot in each other. Really see each other. Put down the technology. See each other. And strength spot, have gratitude. When other people's inner critic and self-sabotage comes up, be that voice who can come in and say, you know what? You're upset because this is so important to you. And this is so meaningful to you. So what's one step using your unique strengths that can help you keep moving?
I love that. And I think it kind of ties in, and I know that sometimes that there can be some feelings of jealousy if you see women who are like thriving in their careers and things like that. But I think too, how many folks here practice the abundance mindset? That's kind of what I'm curious about. I see a couple people. So the abundance mindset is that there's plenty to go around for anybody and for everyone. So being able to, like, the scarcity mindset is what kind of comes in when folks look at somebody and say, oh, they're doing so well, I need to take that. And like, that's like, if I'm lifting somebody else up, then like it could take away from what I have to offer. So I think that's such a good point, Kate, is that there's plenty to go around, and that there is so much that people can do in order to lift one another up. And by taking from you, it's not taking from you by lifting somebody else up. I actually want to shoot a question over to Erica. Have you had a really powerful female mentor in your life, and what did they teach you?
Yes, and I want to just give you guys a quick example of the abundance mindset. This is actually something my boyfriend told me one day when I was having a little bit of imposter syndrome. And he said, it's like the bread aisle. When you go down the bread aisle, there are all different types of bread, and we like what we like, but no, like the bread companies don't stop making their type of bread. And so I always think about that now. Sometimes when I'm like, am I doing something that's really different from someone else? So just wanted to throw out brought that visual for you all. But yes, the woman that I would say that has had the most influence on me professionally actually was the one I spoke of in my first example. So it was my boss for 8 years. I had a career that advanced very quickly. And so I actually held my first VP position before I was 30. And I really felt as though all eyes were on me and my company. I think a lot of people were like, how does she get promoted so quickly? What does she know yet? And, I had not managed people, so I had to just really dive in, learn a lot of things on my own. And my boss at the time was, her style to me was perfect. I remember she told me, you should be empowered to make decisions. You should be empowered to speak up in meetings. Don't think just because you have X years of experience and someone else has 25 years plus that what you have to say is not valuable. She really instilled in me the fact of, you are at this table, you are in this room, you are in this position because, not just because, I like you, because you are the right person. We want your perspective. We value your perspective. And so I think so many times where I would feel, just hesitant to speak up or to disagree, which can be incredibly intimidating. She always would really push me. She would turn. If I was too quiet, she would say, Erica, I want to hear what your thoughts are about, this particular decision or strategy. And I really appreciated it. And, I think that as I grew as a leader, I was able to then, reciprocate that. And that's something that I really built my leadership style after, was making sure I was someone that always supported people, but empowered them, making sure especially women feel as though they can have a voice, they should have a voice, and not feeling like you have to, pull yourself back. And so she's someone that, again, was really such a great, joy to have as a boss. We actually went on to become business partners for 5 years, which was an interesting dynamic, but I think it was evidence of the mutual respect that we really had in terms of our relationship. And now fast forward, I am, later, that was in 2008. So fast forward many years later, I still go to her for guidance. And I still really believe that she is someone that allowed my career to flourish, but also allowed me just to feel empowered and to really feel like I was valuable in moments where maybe I would have preferred to kind of pull myself back. One last thing. And it's funny because now I am a professional speaker. I remember the first time she asked me to go give a presentation in front of the CEO and the president of the company. And I told her, I said, I'm happy to make the PowerPoint. I will do the PowerPoint for you, but I don't want to go and give a presentation in front of the executives. And she said, absolutely not. This is your department. I'm happy to support you. If we want to practice, we can do that, but I'm not going to go there and deliver something that you are responsible for. And that was such a pivotal point in my career. And I would have never thought that now my career would be based upon having to go and present and talk to people.
So great. And Emily, I know you wanted to kind of pop in here too about mentorship as well.
Yeah. Well, I actually took a note this morning as I was thinking about this conversation, because I don't have formalized mentors. In other words, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. I just think that might be an area that I could grow in. As you're talking about mentorship, part of who I've gone to and who I've had the privilege of working for is actually men in leadership that have taught me a lot about not just inviting me to the table, but doing what Erica's mentor just did for her. Like, please, like, not just waiting for me to kind of start speaking, and then to amplify what I say. So I've had the great privilege of having mentors who are men who are allies to the gender and pay equity conversation, that have really helped me move ahead in my career and discover wealth, and then discover power as a result. One of the things that I have started, and I'm a therapist and a mental health clinician. And so I got into the field of, leadership from a place of like, I want to do the right thing. And I always thought that, having wealth was sort of, like maybe as a byproduct. And now I'm kind of like, if we're going to have power as women, empowered, and then have power, like we have to also have capital. We have to also have wealth, because that they're correlated, right? So men have taught me to let go of that as a dirty word. I think the women in my life who I really am inspired by, I sit next to more often than I'm going to for advice. And I think that's a blind spot for me. I think that's actually something that I might like to formalize. So I'm inspired by what Erica shared, and I'm sure what everyone else here can also teach me about that. So yeah, just another perspective.
Yeah, I think that's so true, that sometimes mentors don't come in like female, sometimes they're allies, right? Sometimes it's how can we lift each other up. I had a really great call the other day with somebody who was talking about how she created a Black ERG for Google. And she said, one of my best mentors and allies was a white lesbian woman who just lifted me up and did everything and helped me create this ERG. I was like, that's awesome. But it's cool to see that mentors can come in so many different shapes and sizes. And I know we're coming to 10:30 right now, so I do want to leave time for breakouts, but I did want to give one more opportunity for folks. And I'm going to just go around the horn here. So would love for all of our panelists to say, what are some cool ways that you are working to inspire and help your community? So I'll start with Jamie, and then we'll kind of work our way around.
I think some ways that, okay, you guys are going to be let in a little secret. We are starting a podcast, and I can't share the name quite yet, but I'm so pumped, like beyond excited about it, and containing myself right now. So that's gonna be a great way, because I think just as we drive around our car, why not listen to something that's going to fill us up, that we can connect to, even if it's a 10-minute something or another, but it's some way to just, podcasts change my mood. When I'm driving around, music is great, but my mind, I don't know, but I have a very busy mind. And it can spiral, right? My inner critic takes over. So when I'm listening to a podcast of some really empowered women, and I have some like really favorite podcasts, I was just listening to So Money on the way here, by the way, if anyone knows Farnoosh, oh my gosh, amazing. So having a podcast and reaching out and having that availability, yes, awesome. I think is a great way.
Kate, how about you?
Yeah, two things come to mind. One is doing a lot of storytelling work in the community, and it started through the work of a nonprofit called Open Labs that is now a part of Project Helping here in Colorado. And the idea was, how do we help people share their story, their brain health story, without using jargon? And we held all of these storytelling events. We were at Denver Startup Week, and all of our research found that when you are vulnerable and open up your story, other people are more vulnerable and willing to open up. People ended up being more engaged and volunteer more for activities, and people felt more open and comfortable talking about their mental health, their challenges with family, friends, HR, their boss. We kept all of this data. And so it takes courage to be vulnerable, but look for more opportunities like that. It's really important. The other piece is I run a program called UX My Life. So if you're familiar with human-centered design, user experience in the tech world, we spend a ton of time focusing on what others need and how to get them to this wonderful, seamless place. And we run that process on yourself through coaching. And it's these powerful females coming together to have these discussions and how might we conversations together. So I'm super excited about all the podcasts out there and this storytelling. So keep it going.
Emily, go ahead.
I guess sort of keep it simple for me. It's like if you have a newsletter, I'll subscribe to it. If you need a follow, I'll follow you. If you have a book out, I'll buy it. I think it's like I'm in a season in my own leadership journey of curating more than creating, and just kind of like having my platforms be platforms for other voices. And I know that's like, you're like, but you have a lot to say, Drake. I do, but I'm trying to listen a lot more than I talk lately. I realize I have a voice and clients want to hear it, and I like sharing it, and I like being in dialogue. But yeah, I wanna support other people, and whether it's through investing or footwork or learning, I'm happy to sign up and show up.
Bring us home, Erica.
I would say, my community, the Millennial Boardroom, it's not just for women, it's for both women and men, but I think women gravitate to women. So the primary audience, it's, I don't know what the percentage is, but I'd probably say 90% are women in the community. And I think what I really try to do as the founder in there is really help bring, this is to echo what Kate said, a level of just transparency and honesty, especially as it comes to, our career, so that people feel supportive. I think that's really something, especially right now, where some of us are feeling disconnected. We're not seeing friends and family, coworkers and colleagues the same way we used to. But having a platform for people to connect and to really feel like they are not navigating their career journey alone. And part of that for me is I share a lot of personal career journey stories and things that I, did right or did wrong, or still don't know whether I did them right or wrong, but I'm going to share it with you, share it with you as well. And so to me, that's sometimes I think what we need, because, in this day and age, everything looks, very shiny and wow, how did they get there? How did that happen? Or I'll never be able to, get to that level. And I think when we really explain more about the journey, that is really empowering and supportive, and can start to make people, especially women, have more confidence that they too can reach their goals and achieve their dreams.
That's so good. I love it. Well, I'm going to move everyone into breakouts. We'll do about 10 minutes and then we'll come back. So I have a question that I'm going to throw into the chat. So feel free to use that, or just feel free to chat. I'm going to have all of our panelists run each of their breakouts, and I'll pop around and make sure everyone's doing good. So I'm going to open up those now.